Well, first, lawmakers, both parties, traverse a very narrow range of Washington, D.C. They're not here for tourist attractions. They're on Capitol Hill and a few blocks from Capitol Hill for meetings and dinners and breakfast, and that's about it.
Yeah, okay.
And so for their vantage point, they have Capitol Police, you have Metro Police, D.C. Metro Police. They're well covered for basic security measures. Having said that, you've had some high-profile cases of Democratic lawmakers, Republican lawmakers experiencing carjackings, physical assaults just a couple blocks from the Capitol. So that's speaking to something that's very real in urban America today. Coming off of COVID, the stats were incredible for how bad D.C. and a lot of places like Chicago have been. And so there's a perception across America for the rest of America that there's an urban crime problem. And that's why you see the president speaking to this. And so is there something to it in urban America? Yes. Is it as dramatic as I think it's made out to be by the White House? Not really. But these aren't great stats. And
Sure.
the mayor, the Democratic mayor of Washington, D.C. is saying, look, these things do have a positive impact on reducing crime rates, the attention to the matter. But if we take the attention off, then the crime will reappear unless we change.
Okay. So what happens when you start adding other cities? It's one thing, the federal city gives the president a lot more leeway. If you're going to roll into Chicago like this, particularly with National Guard troops the way we saw in L.A., it's a different construct, and the pushback from Democratic governors has been very loud, of course. Is there a line for Republicans, for lawmakers on this when it comes to other cities, or when it comes to the difference between federal police and the National Guard?
Well, frankly, it's for the voters of those jurisdictions to vote in people that are going to keep them safe. We saw this in San Francisco, a dramatic reversal in San Francisco from a very soft on crime regime in an all-Democratic city to a now tough on crime regime with encampments and assaults, vehicles disappearing, CVS is being raided, every store, like every retail store possible being raided, and they voted in a new government. Chicago's got to do the same thing. If they want something better, they've got to vote for something better and to get different results.
But you're also saying that it's not up to Donald Trump, it sounds like.
It is not up to the president to keep mismanaged, badly run cities and save their politicians or give their politicians a foil to keep inept government in. That's my view.
Yeah.
There's enough for us to preside over with national security measures, international challenges, tariff issue, economic issues. We've got big things that we should be focused on. The political class in Washington should be focused on, and especially the president.
Like funding the government, say?
Yeah, some of that basic stuff.
Everyone turned away from all this shutdown talk and the rescissions and how much Democrats and Republicans can't trust each other because we got into the whole Epstein thing and we got into the throes of summer news. We're not done with that. So what's top of mind as lawmakers come back? And are we going to be hearing about Epstein next week?
Sure.
Will we have a shutdown?
Sure. You have the FBI director and the testifying before the Hill in the month of September, in 3 weeks from now. There'll be discussions of that, discussions about keeping the government open, discussions about the president's nominee for the Fed seat that was previously open. Yeah. And so there is so much going on. It's hard to
hearing next week, an RFK Jr. hearing. When it comes to appropriations, though, is the conventional wisdom correct here? We're shutting down. It's just a question for how long?
Well, it's really open to the Democratic minority in the Senate. In the House, Speaker Johnson showed that they can pass a continuing resolution like they did in March, which was its own political miracle because House Republicans have not previously been able to do that. So kudos to Speaker Johnson.
Chuck Schumer's got some tough decisions to make.
This time around, just like in March, it's Schumer's decision. You have enough Republican votes to pass something, but not to get to the 60-vote cloture vote that they need to have for funding the government. So it is in Schumer's hands. And so the focus should be on him, on what he wants, his expectations, because he's going to be the decider on whether or not we have a government shutdown.
Boy, okay. If we do, Every Democrat we've asked has said, yeah, but we can't do it unless there's a plan to reopen it. Because if Donald Trump gets this thing closed, he has no interest in reopening it, right?
Let me just tell you, Russ Vought, the budget director for President Trump, has so desperately wants Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats to shut the government down.
This is really important because what will happen?
We will find out. But he has a plan. He has an intricate, detailed plan, and the goal is to win the shutdown. Republicans have previously not won shutdowns in the 90s all the way through just a few years ago. So not winning shutdown, he intends to change that. And he's thought deeply about it for a very long time, and Schumer may give him that opportunity either October 1st or sometime late in the fall or into January.
If it happens, it's a record, right?
It would be a record. It will be bad. And it will be bad particularly for Democratic politicians who did not fund the government. And a government that they helped fund and build and that they are in defense of as a party, it would be a very bad thing for Democratic politicians. So what I would tell my Democratic friends is get out of the way of your own folly here and fund the government, get out of the way, and move on to some other more serious fight for the ballot box at the midterms. And if they don't do that, then it's going to be a tasty, great fight for the White House against congressional Democrats.
October is going to be a riot.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
But for us to sit behind the microphones, much more interesting, right?
A shortage of things to talk about. Democrats would say, though, hey, you guys did that rescission package, so we can't trust you in a budget deal anyway. That's why we're not willing to vote for this. And Republicans say, yeah, and we're going to do another one.
Yep.
Is that coming?
Yeah, absolutely.
What will it look like?
Well, they've got to determine that and determine the type of fight they want to have about that rescissions package. But the point is, right now we have currently the largest federal government we've had outside of wartime. In the history of the United States, we have the largest federal government outside of wartime. That is too big. As a percentage of our economy and raw dollar numbers, we have a government that's too big that we cannot afford as a great society. We have a government, if you match state, local, and federal, that tells Europeans that they're not running a socialist state. We are. So we've got to get our financial house in order and to prioritize that fight. I think the president is doing a very good job of bringing that to the fore.
We haven't even mentioned the word tariff since we've been talking this time, which is usually something that we get around to. Is Congress kind of hands off the reins on this? Will there be a congressional answer to tariffs now that they appear to all be in place? India just got sacked with 50% this week. We're waiting for news on China, but everyone else has a number right now, Congressman.
Well, I will tell you that President Trump has complete mastery of the Republican Party. There are folks on the Hill that hate tariffs. They will remain quiet. And the president is there to go get a big deal on trading arrangements. Now, all of this is noise, right? Landing, where do we end up with India? Where do we end up with Mexico? Yeah. Some very key decisions are still out. But it all brings to focus the main thing here. The main thing is our trading relationship with China and the globe's trading relationship with China. That cannot be missed in all of this. There's a lot of stuff in Washington, a lot of noise, but that is the signal you got to go follow. And the White House is very focused on, and Treasury and Commerce are very focused on landing a deal with China that is durable for the long term.
How well do you know Lisa Cook?
A little bit. I interacted significantly with the Fed.
Sure you did. That's why I asked. Yeah. This is someone who's been vetted already, who's being questioned now on apparently 3 mortgage applications. There was a big emergency hearing down the street arguing about cause. They left without a ruling. How concerned are you about the Federal Reserve being impacted, its credibility being impacted by this?
Well, it is concerning. It is concerning, the reputational damage to the Fed, number one. Number two, the question of one person getting bounced from the Fed, which is what we're talking about. One appointee getting removed for cause. The courts have to decide on this. It's a 110-year-old statute, untested. No previous governor has been removed by the president. Although the act says this, it's not been tested in the courts. It'll be tested in the courts. We will find out. And that will be a that's determinative on the act. That does not mean the Federal Reserve is no longer independent.
Yeah. Okay.
It's what comes next that could unravel Fed independence. If you and so those are the things.
Who is named?
Well, in terms of what other precipitating acts can impair the Fed's independence,
like reaching into the 12 regional banks.
Correct.
Okay.
And so you have that as an open question. You have these independent boards. The nature of the Federal Reserve is built on the nature of our constitutional checks and balances, and that means separation of powers and representative banks. So we have a diverse group of banks across the country that are supposed to be the voices for that region and know what's happening in the economy, bring those lessons to Washington, and be that region's voice. Yeah. It is a very complicated structure. The Federal Reserve is different and distinct than other pieces of congressional creation. The Supreme Court has ruled that and has opined on that, that it is special and distinct in the nature of central banking back to the first and second Bank of the United States and the founding fathers that were still alive and writing those statutes around the central bank at the time. So those things are tested. The Supreme Court has already opined on this. Now it's a question of lower courts making a determination on whether or not they follow the statute and in the clear letter of the law.